KZMB All Zombie Radio.
Hi. Okay, this time I think it actually worked. Hello. Welcome to the evidence board. I don't know why that really screwed everything up. I am so sorry guys. I have to check something really quickly cuz it looks like it linked to the wrong studio at first and that is maybe causing a problem. So hold on. Give me one moment and then we can get started to talk about high potential. Okay, that's live and that's working right now. And that's saying that's streamed. Okay, great. Great. Okay. We maybe are fine. We're maybe fine. Oh, what the hell? Okay. No. Delete that, please. Right? No, don't delete the wrong one now. Don't delete the wrong one now. Okay, well, I guess I have to leave it for now because it's not processed. Hi, India. Yeah, that was weird. I tried to join the live and it went to the old studio, like linked to the other studio, which was weird. And then there's like two lives from earlier, but the second one is just me being like, "Ugh," and then me mad. India. All right. This episode was crazy. It was sort of unpredictable. So many moving parts. Yeah, it was just like I don't know, there were like 10 red herrings. It was like every time you thought you had it figured out, there was another piece to it. Okay, so let's talk about the deets. All right. So, this was episode 5 entitled Content Warning of Season 2 of High Potential. It was directed by Pete Chapman, who is an American director. I'm just going to take a look at some of his other works. Um, he's best known for writing, producing, and directing an independent feature film called Premium. It is a 2006 romantic comedy. It's starring Dorian Missick and Zoe Saldana, but I have never seen it. So if you've seen that, this is what Chapman has done. He also did a documentary entitled The 761st Tank Battalion, and that was narrated by Andre Brower, who passed away, as everyone knows, in recent years, but an absolute joy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as Captain Raymond Holt. Yeah, it looks like that's about it for Chapman's history. The new captain is creepy and weird. I don't like him, but I love Steve Harvey. I I don't know. I haven't I'm not sure. I can't get a read on him, honestly. The episode was written by Katie McElheney. Um, and I'm just looking to see if Katie has written any other episodes so far. Doesn't appear that she has. And Pete Chapman has directed another episode. He directed episode 4 of season 1 entitled Survival Mode, which is when um Mia Ashford comes and she's looking for her estranged husband. Um and then he's found dead. And they're looking for the daughter. Which I like kind of remember, but not a ton. Let's see. Did he direct any other episodes? Excuse me, in season 1. Does not appear so. So one per season so far for Pete Chapman. So congratulations, Pete Chapman. This episode aired this last Tuesday, October 14th, and had a rating of 4.15. So we are still going strong with the ratings, which is great. Hi again, Marcus. I'm glad you're here. So the ratings for the show have just been phenomenal. They're up in the fours this season. They got as high as 5.79 in season 1, which is crazy. Um, so just how did that happen? How did my phone? Oh, because I was messing with the thing. Okay. All right. Sorry, my phone ended up out of my pocket. I wasn't sure how that had happened. All right. So your synopsis for the episode. When a social media stunt turns deadly, Morgan and Karadek head to an influencer content house to track down answers. The LAPD team adjusts to Captain Nick Wagner's new role, and Ava seeks out more information on Roman's disappearance. Ooh. Um, India says, I do like the partnership of Morgan and Karadek. They're cute and they work well for the most part. I do too. I thought it was interesting to see the juxtaposition this season as he's meeting with Wagner, and Wagner is like, yeah, she has a problem with authority. She doesn't follow the rules, and you're a by the book guy. And Karadek is like, well, I'm happy to have her as my partner because last season he was not happy to have her as his partner for the majority of the first season because she was unwilling to like listen to the rules always. She got better over time as she understood more about what they needed to do. And so that's strengthened that relationship. And so it's kind of nice to see like that kind of drew our attention back to the way that it was before. Okay. All right. So each week we've been reading an article from Collider about the episode, written by Jenny Richardson. So this one was written and published 3 days ago and is entitled, you're going to like this, India. High Potential Season 2, Episode 5 review. I don't trust Major Crimes' new captain one bit. Last week's episode of High Potential ended with Morgan meeting the LAPD's new captain, Nick Wagner. So I knew we'd be in for some interesting changes this week. Sure enough, Season 2, Episode 5 content warning brings two main storylines alongside the case of this week. While the Major Crimes Unit solves the murder of a woman named Tori Nolan, they also deal with the arrival of Captain Wagner, who wants to speak to each of them one-on-one. This week's episode sets up some interesting threads as Morgan sets her sights on Roman's backpack for clues about what happened to him, and Captain Wagner spends a little too much time sniffing around the Major Crimes Division. As a whole, this episode feels more transitional than anything else, which makes sense, because it primarily sets up storylines that don't get paid off by the end. Content warning starts off with two teens finding Tori's body in a pond. I'm going to pause here for a second because I really loved the cold open. I thought it was so good. So often the cold open, so when we're referring to a cold open, we're referring to this like little snippet that we're getting. And typically in a show like this, it's going to involve someone finding a body or it's the beginning of the case, really. Um, so I really enjoyed this because it was really short. It was like a super short cold open, but it told such a big story in such a short period of time. Two boys are on a fishing pier. They're playing with the drone. They're fighting over the drone. The drone nosedives into the lake, and the camera is still running, and it falls onto a car because they're like, "Is that a car?" And then you can see a dead body in the car, and they both run off of the pier, and that was the end of it. It was really great. It told a lot in like a very short period of time. India says I don't trust him at all, and the comment of claiming her as a partner felt weird and so out of the blue. You know. Okay, so Morgan and Karadek investigate the case and learn that Tori was an investigative reporter who was hiding from someone. They then wind up at a content house where Tori was undercover, seemingly looking for information from the residents there. In a red herring, Morgan and Karadek learned that three of Tori's housemates played a dangerous prank on her for both content and payback. They thought that they had killed her at first, but the real killer isn't them or even their suspicious leader, Phineas. Dude, for real, who was played by an actor named Jake Short. As it turns out, Tori was investigating a protein powder that one of her roommates, played by Nicole Bruner, was supposed to promote for her channel. The protein powder is made by a company owned by Bobby Romano, who is Jono Wilson, a former college classmate of Tori's who doxed her after an article that she wrote. Tori threatened to expose Bobby's company a week before she died. So Morgan and Karadek believe that he may have killed her until they find Bobby dead after being drugged. The very drug that killed Bobby is one that his company has been selling under his nose. And the person in charge is none other than Bobby's friend, Gavin Tillman, played by Brian Howe, who also runs the halfway house Bobby used to live in. And Brian Howe is like, he's that guy. We'll go over like the cast in a little bit. The prank was insanely dumb. We'll go over the cast in just a little bit so we can talk about all the different people that were in this episode because some of them had recognizable faces. Gavin killed both Tori and Bobby to keep the story about the drugs from getting out, and the major crimes team finds out in time to arrest him. The case felt like it was missing some crucial scenes, like Morgan and Karadek's interview with Bobby's second in command, Lamar, played by Duran J. Powell, for real. Ultimately, though, it was a surprising twist, even if it felt a little out of nowhere. After being unable to get through to Arthur, um, when she that's Mackay Pfeiffer, by the way. We've talked about it numerous times because he was in the remake of Dawn of the Dead. She called his company last episode. Morgan does some investigating to find where he'll be in this one. She shows up while he's working and asks about Roman, but Arthur admits that Roman called him from a burner phone and that he didn't even cross paths with him in Nevada. Morgan lightly blackmails Arthur into agreeing to give her Roman's backpack at some point. Later, Morgan fills Ava in on these developments. Ava wants to go with her to meet with Arthur, but Morgan says no. Morgan goes to meet with Arthur about Roman at a diner, where Arthur tells Morgan that he and Roman were childhood friends and vouches for Roman's character. This made me wonder how Arthur and Morgan had never met in all of the time that Morgan and Roman were together. But this will likely be explained once we meet Roman. Ava then shows up and convinces Arthur to give them the backpack, but Morgan is furious that she disobeyed her. And she and Ava later get into a huge fight. The episode ends with Arthur leaving the backpack for Morgan, but we don't see her open it yet, once again dragging out the mystery of Roman Sincera into another episode. I wouldn't have expected the LAPD's new captain to suddenly spend so much time with one precinct, but Nick Wagner has an unusual interest in Morgan. He kicks Selena outside of her office, outside of her office for a few days, then spends the episode meeting with each person in the Major Crimes Division. Oz says that his meeting was odd, but we don't actually see it. And what we do see of Wagner sets him up as an interesting potential villain. He tries to talk Daphne into taking the sergeant's exam and leaving Major Crimes, much to Selena's concern, although she doesn't discourage Daphne because that's the thing. That's like a good leader is going to push you to also be in like positions of power if you are well suited to it. Daphne could be really well suited to a sergeant's position, and so she doesn't discourage that because why would you? Your goal is eventually for them to also succeed, the people under you. Later, Wagner shows no interest in Karadek during the interview, and he only wants to talk about Morgan. Suspicious. Wagner clearly has an alternative motive here. Even if it's just that he's fascinated by Morgan's unique talent and wants to use her to prove himself to the LAPD. I actually think he's even more calculated than theory about it. By the end of the episode, it seems that Morgan has warmed up to Wagner quite a bit. He asks her for a reading of him as a person, and she acknowledges that he got his job through nepotism, but suggests that he's trying to prove himself on his own terms. Morgan may like Wagner, but I'm very suspicious of him. And if he's a villain, High Potential is doing a really excellent job of planting those seeds. The episode makes a point of mentioning once again that Roman is specifically hiding from law enforcement. And by revealing that Wagner's father retired only 5 years after Roman disappeared, my working theory right now is that either Wagner or his father may have been involved in Roman's disappearance. And now that Morgan has Roman's backpack, I can't wait to learn more. So that's kind of where I was going to go for the theory, right? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hold on. Hold on, India. I'll get to your comments in just a second. Um, okay, so that was kind of where my theory was at. Was I felt like I feel like Wagner is tied somehow to Roman's disappearance, one way or the other. And I think that's why he's so interested in Morgan working for the police department now. Is like he needs to make sure that his tracks are covered. And Morgan sticking her nose in is concerning to him, especially once he sees how talented she is. So it's concerning, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. Well, honestly, we'll just have to see. India says, oh, it's glitching. Oh no. No, 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 no. Okay, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Let's see if it cleared up or not. Let me close out. Maybe it's like ads and stuff are causing it. Hold on. Yikes. Okay, let's close these out. Okay. Better maybe? I hope. Really hope so. You tell me. Is it cleared up now? Okay. I'm going to go with yes, it probably is because I just closed out like 4 windows. Okay. So India says, I was like Jake Short. I watched him on that ant farm on Disney Channel. Now he's all grown up. I understood why Morgan was upset at Ava and especially her coming. And thank you, India. And didn't know if Arthur was bad or not. Do you think the Roman reveal is going to be revealed in season 2 or season 3? And that's a good question. I don't know. I could see it being like the cliffhanger for season 2 is that we'll get to a point where like maybe he's at a specific place and Morgan's like walking up to the door and it like cuts there. You know how they love to do stuff like that in in these shows. So I could see something like that happen to kind of give us that the draw out to wait until season 3. For Wagner, I either think he is connected to something that happened to Roman or someone related or connected with the game maker, possibly. That is also a great theory, India. That's a great theory. Okay. So let's talk about hold on. Let's talk about who was in this episode. Season 2, episode 5. All right. Here we go. If there is a season 3, but the ratings show good stability, so I'm assuming season 3. I would honestly, if they canceled, okay, now it's we're not even we're not even halfway yet into the season. But if they were to cancel this already, I would be really surprised because the ratings are crazy good. For because we have to remember, like, this show airs at 10 p.m. on Tuesdays. That's late. That's not primetime television, that's late night television. And so it's airing particularly late and the ratings are still phenomenal. They are double like the numbers we saw for Found. They're not as high as something like The Walking Dead, but that was like a cult phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like that was like an insane situation. So, um India, precisely. As I keep watching this, I just wish the writing team of Found had gotten there together. Precisely. Because like you see how good this show is and how well written it is and how well directed it is. Now, to be fair, we've had phenomenal directors involved in this, including James Rodriguez, who I am like so happy is involved in this project. I just saw a TikTok the other day. I wish I had saved it so I could tell you guys who posted it. But the person posted that they were so happy that James Roday was back and that he was and that he was directing for the show. But the comments were like, this show feels like a love letter to Psych fans. So there's like a lot of like really great stuff there. Um India says Dancing with the Stars is right before that, so people are still watching it. But you have to think like they're watching the show that they want to see. They're staying for High Potential. That's like a really big deal. Because of how late it is. So that's like a really big deal. Okay. So, oh, this is not at all what I wanted. Hold on. That was the news page. Mm. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay. For season 3, I would possibly like to see Mark Paul Gosselaar or Shanola to do a recurring arc or something. I mean, we'd love to see like actors that we love for sure. It'd be super fun. Okay. So obviously we have our normal cast of characters. Caitlin Olsen as Morgan Guillory, Daniel Sunjata as Adam Karadek, Javicia Leslie as Daphne Forrester, Denise as Oz, Amira J as Ava, um, Matthew Lamb as Elliot Radovic, um, Steve Howie as Nick Wagner, Judy Reyes as Selena Soto, Brian Howe is Gavin Tillman. We did see a very brief Bill Nye the Science Guy cameo, which was crazy. I had said I felt like this season they were really leaning into the like those like weird like flash away scenes. It's almost like Family Guy, but in real life, it's crazy. Um but I love the little cutaway scenes where it shows kind of like what's going on in Morgan's head. And so I really enjoyed that. Now, personally, in this household, we are a Beekman's World household. We are not a Bill Nye household. We are Beekman's World. And so for that reason, I will give it like a 5 out of 10. But it was fun. It was really fun. Jono Wilson played Bobby Romano. Darren J. Powell played Lamar Vulpes. Um, Nicole Bruner played Raquel. Jake Short played Phineas Dotery. Phineas Yoon. Oh, that is weird. Okay, that's so weird. So there's a guy. Okay, wait. So Jake Short played Phineas Dotery in the show. There was a guy named Phineas Yoon, the actor who played Pranks. Um, Mekhi Phifer played Arthur, obviously. Kay Zedrick Cruz played Omar, and Derek Bernard played Officer Brian. He had like one or two lines. Um, Last week was Solomon. He has an issue with Morgan, and is that why Soto got passed over for the captain position? Yeah, so I guess that's what's insinuated in the episode is that Soto lost the position because of Morgan, like because she hired on this consultant who's like doesn't really follow the rules. So it was kind of like I guess it brought her judgment into question, which is really sad because Morgan's done excellent work so far. All right, so let's go into some of these people who we saw that were like, weird. That person looked familiar. And let's see what they've been in. So Brian Howe, who played our bad guy this episode, was in The Newsroom, that HBO show, The Newsroom. He was in the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. He was in Westworld. He played Sheriff Pickett. He was in the TV series Vice Principals. He played Superintendent Jeremy Haas. Let's see. He played in an episode of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. He was in 2 episodes of Shrinking. He was in many episodes. Okay, this is where I recognized him from. I was like, I really recognized him from something. He was in Kevin Can F Himself, which is a very interesting TV show. He played Pete McRoberts, so he was in that show. He was in episodes of Super Pumped. He was in, let's see if there's anything else here. He was Nick Porter in Chicago Fire, if you're a Chicago Fire fan. He was Neil Penderson in Superstore, if you're a Superstore fan, which I did watch all of that show. I'm seeing if there's anything in particular he was in an episode of Ghosted. He's done a lot of like kind of like single episodes or like he'll do like a run, like a character run on a show. Um he was in The Middle. He was in American Horror Story as Mark Phillips for only an episode. Um yeah, he's been acting for years. He was in Longmire as Dale Lowry. He was in the show Franklin and Bash. He was in Castle. He was in NCIS Los Angeles. He was in The Closer. He was in The Cape. He's been in a ton of stuff. Medium, and The Mentalist, Lie to Me, Cold Case. Oh my gosh, he's been in so many procedurals. So many procedurals. He's been in CSI. He was in Mental. He was in Numbers. He was in Bones. He's been in Boston Legal. This guy is made for this kind of work. Honestly, love that. So Brian Howe, great job. Jono Wilson also looked familiar. Played Bobby. He was Dave in Twisted Metal. He was in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was in the show I Love That for You. Let's see what else he was in. If there's anything else in particular that I kind of recognized him for. He was in the miniseries The Offer. He was in Modern Family. He played a zombie in Modern Family. Uh, he must have been one of the Halloween episodes. You don't see anything else that I'm like in particular, like I'm like, oh, that's what I recognize him from. So it must have just been like, oh, he was oh, he did the voiceover of Conan O'Brien in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is very funny because Caitlin Olsen obviously is like famous for that show. Okay, so back to comments. India said, love the Bring It On cameo last week, but didn't like Solomon coming for my girl Morgan. And Nick is just being so weird. And I just feel like he's super nosy. I'm currently watching Franklin and Bash because of Mark Paul Gosselaar. I do recognize Brian from Vice Principal. So, all right, we will move on to the next person. So, Darren J. Powell. He was Tate Jenkins in Chicago Med. He was in an episode of The Equalizer. He played Lamar Starks. He was in Widows. Stop. He was in he was in the new Wizards Beyond Waverly Place show as Cyclops. I can't. Um, he was in the Chai, or the Shy. I mean, in 2 episodes. He was Franklin West. Let's see. Anything else? He was also like a background, kind of like a no-name actual character in Empire as well. He doesn't have a ton of acting credits, so that some of that is fairly recent. Oh my goodness. So sorry, friends. I closed the screen. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Nicole Bruner, who played Raquel. She was in she hasn't been in very much, and she's recent, so she's like a new actress. She was in On Call for an episode, and she was in The Bold and the Beautiful for an episode. Interesting. Jake Short, India said she recognized him from a Disney Channel thing. Oh, he's been in a lot. Okay. Wow. All right. He's been in Lessons in Chemistry, the miniseries. I was trying to pick things that maybe people would recognize. Not in the Sum Sum cartoon. He was in Muppets Most Wanted. He was in Disney's Circle of Stars. Do You Want to Build a Snowman short? I can't. He was in Dexter. He played Scott Smith for a couple episodes. He was in Zeke and Luther TV series. Yeah, he hasn't done a ton of stuff, but he's been around for a while. He's been around for a little while. He's still young. I have been a Disney kid for a while, so when I saw Jay's face, I was like, OMG. I love that. Okay, so Phineas Yoon, who played Pranks, he was in Ballard, the TV show, for an episode. He was in The Wild Fours, which was a mini series. He was in an episode of Grownish. He was in, let's see. Oh, he was in a music video of Taylor Swift's. And he was also in a couple episodes of a TV show that was on. Oh, actually, I don't know what it was on. Called Bad Teacher. And okay, obviously we know Mekhi Phifer. We're not going to get into that. We know him already. Okay, Kay Zedrick, a Cruz, was in High Potential. This is his first acting cred, and he is something's in post production that he's going to be in. That is called The Extinction Rule. So he's obviously already filmed it. It just hasn't come out yet. And Derek Bernard, who played kind of that cop who has like 2 lines. Oh, goodness. He has also been in a ton of procedurals. He was in Blue Bloods. For several episodes, he was Officer Irving. He was in Chicago Fire. He was in Law and Order SVU. He was in FBI for an episode. He was in For Life for 10 episodes. He played Walter. He was in He was in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt as Coach from Cox. He was in Blind Spot. He played Smitty. He was in Luke Cage. He played Crispus Thug. He was in Power. He played Doc. And he was in Boardwalk Empire as like a random thug. Very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, I think that's everybody that we haven't seen before. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that looks like that's everyone. So okay, so let's kind of talk. Let's walk through the episode a little bit. Nope. Okay, I'm stuck. Hold on 1 second. It's like ASMR. It's like ASMR when I do that. Okay. Okay. So let's kind of talk through what happens. So obviously the cold open happens. We find out that someone's dead. It flips back to the major crimes office. We find out that the Wagner is in. He's introduced himself. He's going to do one-on-one conversations with everybody. I have a feeling he also is pushing Oz towards doing something different. So because Oz said he was happy about the conversation, he like felt like it had gone well. And so I feel like much like his conversation with Daphne, he's trying to push people to pursue something else. Now, again, that would be what a good leader would do after they would know people for a little while. It's unusual that he's doing it right away, and it almost seems like a ploy to try to like move people out of major crimes, maybe to make Soto look bad, which is crazy, but that may be part of it. Um we also find out Morgan goes to talk to Arthur really quickly at the beginning of this episode, to ask for the backpack. I'm really excited to find out what's in it. Um, and that'll obviously we will not get that until hopefully next episode. Um, other than that, we find out that all of this is really interesting. So I'm kind of interested in the way that this all played out because okay, India says I don't understand why he is trying to split up the team so early in the game. It seems like a rookie maneuver, honestly. It's like he's not slick if that's what he's trying to do. I wanted to talk about Tori Nolan. So Tori Nolan is really gunning for Bobby, which is kind of weird because you would think in this investigation that she would figure out that it wasn't actually that Bobby really isn't like with it enough to come up with this whole scheme and plan. And he really believes that he's like gone straight this time and he's run a lot of scams. That's been like his thing. Um, but he really thinks he's gone straight this time and he's going to be able to make a living selling this lifestyle. What was it? Live, laugh, fit or whatever. It's cringeworthy, definitely. But he really thought he was going to be able to make a go of this. And the guy who ran the halfway house, um, surrogate probation officer, I guess you kind of want to call him. He actually ruins this for Bobby and ultimately kills Bobby, which is also very sad. But I'm kind of interested in the fact that like I know that Bobby wronged Tori, but he did get caught and he did go to prison. And so it is unusual that she came gunning for him again. Um it seemed a little vindictive. I think at that point in my life I would maybe not want to be around a guy like that. So maybe I wouldn't even be looking into it, but obviously ultimately there was something going on. I just thought it was kind of an interesting concept. Tori goes undercover into this content creator's house, which is also absolutely bananas, but I know that it's real because it is a thing that happens. And I did recently see like people posting videos at an influencer hotel. I didn't even know that was a thing, but weird. And also, how many viewers can you all possibly have? You can't all have a ton of viewers. This is like not how the internet works. But okay. So this is a real concept. The people that she's rooming with, for the most part, liked her. She got some work done so that she looked more like an influencer, which is just incredible commitment to your line of work. And ultimately she dies because she is shot. Now, there's a lot of red herrings in this because first you think her roommates killed her with this like dangerous prank that set off like peroxide. It was like a peroxide chemical reaction, and it does result in burns on her body. Um India says, I feel like joining the the creator house was a little bonkers, but I guess the sponsorship is a connection. It is, but it's like, how did you even find, like, did you know that something was going on, or were you just gunning for Bobby again? You assumed that he was doing something wrong. That's where I'm like, this is a little bit weird and vindictive, but okay. And um Jenny Richardson, who wrote the article for Collider, is 100% correct. This is a transition episode. The story was fun. Was it my favorite by any means? No, not at all. Last week's episode I thought was stronger, but like Case was stronger. And the week before that was really, really, really good. But we need these kind of quick zip up storylines so that we can also talk about the transition with major crimes, and we can also talk about Roman being missing, and so there's like it's got to leave room for other things. Now, what's interesting about that is that I'm wondering if for the sake of time, then they ended up cutting the the interview that they would have done with Vulpes or whatever, the Bobby's right hand man, played by Darren Powell, because that what it looked, there were shots from it, it was clipped in, but we didn't see it, and so I wonder if that was one of the things that had to be cut for the sake of time in order to include everything that they wanted to include in this episode. um so Tori's shot, it's covered up by the peroxide prank situation. We think maybe Phineas had something to do with it because he runs the house and he acted really sketchy, and then also he ran from the police when they showed up, because he hid the body. So obviously you thought he had done it, and then he didn't, and it ended up rooting back all to this like former story of Tori's, which is kind of crazy, a little bit interesting, a little bit convoluted. Not again, I'll say it's not the strongest episode that we've seen. It was fine. And it was, I would even call it fun and like good. It just wasn't the strongest. We've seen stronger episodes. So this one was okay. I am interested though to hear, India, from you. Like, you came onto this show relatively recently. How are you feeling about it? Like, are you enjoying it? Do you feel like it's worth your time? Has it been fun? Was it easy to catch up on? Did it feel like it was like an easy show to binge watch? Because I felt like it was very bingeable. But it is fun to watch week to week too, as you like slowly wait for the mysteries to become uncovered. And I did have some other questions that I put into the description, so I just wanted to take a look at those. Um, so I'll give you these. You can answer them if you want. What moment caught you off guard this episode? I'm trying to think back on the episode. Truly, I think I was aghast the most when they showed up at Bobby's office and he was dead. India says, I am enjoying it and easy to binge watch and filling that hole that Found used to be in. Good. I'm glad this feels like equivalent to that. You're like kind of getting the same feeling. Yeah. So yeah, when they walked into Bobby's office and he was dead, that was probably the moment that caught me off guard. I think I gasped aloud when that happened because I was just like, well, who did it then? Which clue did you spot before the reveal? That's a good question. I don't know if I did spot any clue before the reveal. I'm trying to think if there was any one thing that I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely happening. I can't think of anything because of the number of red herrings in this. It was kind of hard for me to guess. India says this moment caught me off guard. It was definitely Bobby in the office. Yeah, Bobby in the office dead was crazy. The beef and barley soup conclusion by by Morgan was also nuts. But I was glad that she was able to prove that he was poisoned. Um, yeah, yeah, it was really interesting. Oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so I'm thinking now is probably as good of a time as any to wrap it up. I would have normally stayed on a little bit longer, but I am exhausted. And it's hard to run a show when you're by yourself because, like, you just run out of things to talk about. And he says, I didn't spot anything, but I think Bobby was very regretful of what happened. He seemed really genuine. I loved, yes. And he said, however, Brian Howe's character, I didn't see that coming at all. Neither did I. It actually hit me out of left field. I usually can figure out like kind of who did it. Like in the episode where not last week's, but the week before, I like knew the paramedic had something to do with it pretty early on. So like some of them I can catch pretty quick, but this was one that I was not aware of until it happened. And I was like, because I was like, oh yeah, it was his right hand man. And then they like go to arrest the guy, and it's the guy from the halfway house. And I was like, oh, I was not expecting that. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. So we will continue again next week for the evidence board at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about next week's episode, which let me give you the name of. Shall I? Let's see. Next week's episode is called Chasing Ghosts. Ooh. Ooh, this is gonna have something to do with Roman, I bet. Yeah. Yeah. India said same here. And last week I caught, but this one I think there was just so many things happening. I was like surprised. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. 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 So there will be an episode of the week of Halloween as well. So I'll go ahead and tell you that. So Chasing Ghosts is airing on Tuesday the 21st. The one after that is entitled The One Who Got Away. And that will be airing October 28th. So I'll be airing that week of Halloween. I don't have any more information beyond that, so I don't know, like, if hiatus is coming up. There will be a hiatus sometime in November, I'm sure of that. Um, as we hit, like, closer to Thanksgiving and stuff, typically we see a hiatus for a couple weeks. I haven't seen anything yet, and let me tell you, I deserve a break. So I'm excited for a hiatus, but also I don't wanna wait wait because the show is really good. But but I'll just watch Psych in the meantime to fill the void. Okay, so yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you, India, for being here and sticking with both streams this evening. You're such a doll. Thank you, Marcus, for being here earlier. I'm glad to have seen you on both streams as well. You're so sweet. Um, oh, India's calling it. She said episode 7 is where the backpack is coming on. I just saw the description. Oh, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me. Don't tell me anything else. Okay, that's exciting. Okay. Oh, oh man, next week's gonna be another transitional. Okay, it's fine. We'll make it through. All right, so we will be back next week, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about high potential on the evidence board here. Hopefully, my counterpart, Takira, will be back in action next week. I'm assuming she's asleep and she just didn't wake up for these streams because she works crazy hours. So, we'll hope to see you guys next week. Thank you for being here. You're perfect, perfect angel babies, and to let anybody tell you otherwise.